September 1st, 1920, General Henri Gouraud proclaimed the birth of Greater Lebanon. The national narrative advances the idea that Lebanon existed since antiquity and only recovered its historical borders in 1920. However, history draws a different story. In antiquity, the Middle Ages, and up until the 19th century, Lebanon was merely a geographical designation, referring to a mountain, not a state. It has no defined and unchanging borders. In the first 2 centuries of Ottoman rule, port cities remained active, but the larger population density was in the Druzo Maronite mountain, which was divided into tax farms and placed under the command of a multazim. The first half of the 19th century saw the integration of the region into the world market, the end of the Little Ice Age, and the suppression of the Emirate, accompanied by violent conflicts between Druze, who tried to maintain their positions, and Maronites in full demographic, economic, and cultural expansion. At precisely this time, Mount Lebanon as an administrative term came into Ottoman usage. Following the 1860 clashes, a French military expedition was sent and an international conference settled the matter. The Mutasarrifiyya was established, giving Mount Lebanon for the first time a legal and territorial definition as well as self-rule. Last but not least, the campaign included a topographical detachment commissioned by the emperor to draw a map. During World War I, a terrible famine struck Mount Lebanon, which has lost its autonomy. Meanwhile, French decision-makers had in mind a Greater Syria, which would include Mount Lebanon with ill-defined borders. The so-called Sykes-Picot agreements provided for a Franco-British understanding on the partition of the Ottoman Empire. British supported an Arab revolt with a promise of an Arab kingdom. The future of Lebanon was not discussed at the deliberations of the peace conference. It was postponed pending on the settlement of the situation in Syria, occupied by the British, claimed by France, and governed by Faisal. The advocates of Greater Lebanon differed in defining the borders of the desired entity and in their stance on independence, French protection, and relationship with Syria. However, famine and emigration shaped the demands of the emerging Lebanist idea: expansion of the boundaries of Mount Lebanon by providing it with agricultural space and access to the sea. What changed the French perspective was the American demand for a consultation of the populations on the choice of the mandatory power. This led the French to adopt the Lebanese idea. The Maronite Church took the lead in the movement. They were the only ones to turn to the French. Maronite Patriarch Elias Hawayik visited Paris at the head of a delegation that called for a return to natural and historic Lebanon, based on the map drawn by the French campaign. Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau promised the Patriarch to support the annexation of the Bekaa and appropriate ports, and called on him to demand in return French protection of Lebanon, and he did. In September 1919, the British abandoned the cause of Faisal, leaving it to the French to end his kingdom in Damascus. In July 1920, the French army marched on Damascus and put an end to the Arab kingdom. Gouraud now had the upper hand to satisfy the demands of the Lebanese. Large parts of the Vilayet of Beirut, 4 districts of the Vilayet of Damascus, were annexed to the Mutasarrifiyya, and Beirut became the capital of a new state proclaimed by Gouraud on September 1st, 1920, Greater Lebanon. Today, Lebanese tend to project their existence into the past, a national narrative, a historical journey in a logic of progressive accomplishment, culminating in Lebanon reclaiming its historical borders in 1920. However, Lebanon as a modern political and social entity cannot be traced back to an ancient Lebanon, because no state within the 1920 borders ever existed before. Nonetheless, a distinct Lebanese personality gradually formed in the century that followed, but this is another story.